can I start by asking you about the plan for mobility that's been drawn up in Los Angeles?
So in Los Angeles, we have sort of three things that set our policy framework. One is Mayor Garcetti's Sustainable City Plan, which sets very aggressive goals for us to reduce our emissions and focusing on transportation in particular. The second is Mobility Plan 2035. It's a very visionary plan to really make over the streets in our city, to prioritize transit and bicycling and walking, as well as goods movement. But the last one, the one that was sort of the focus of this panel, is called Urban Mobility in a Digital Age, and it is our transportation technology strategy for Los Angeles. So if we think that autonomous vehicles and other disruptive mobility services are coming at us in sort of this Wild West phase of transportation, how do local governments respond to make sure that we stay in the role of delivering public transit as a public good and not for private profit, and that we also prepare ourselves to regulate and take thoughtful risks and learn from all of the changes on our streets. So it has 5 buckets. One is about data, that data should be shared, it should be open, and that we should really increase our data fluency inside local government. The second is about something that we call transportation happiness. So how can we shift our focus to begin and end with the people of Los Angeles using the system and really change the way we think about that door-to-door trip and how we in the public sector can make it enjoyable, make it add to all of the sort of things that we love about the city, and keep the city equitable and affordable for everybody who lives there. The third is around partnerships. So how can we change the way that we think about concessioning local public transit? So instead of having to have a monopoly on it, how can we exercise the convening role of government to bring different companies together and really be an activist investor in the ones that we think help get us towards our goal? The fourth is about delivering infrastructure as a service. So if parking revenue is going to diminish or disappear and the gas tax is going to continue to erode because the fleet is becoming more electric, how can we think about how we price our roads and how we price the trips on those roads and how we deliver a really very high level of infrastructure for the people using it, because the fleet of cars is going to be gathering tremendous amounts of information. The last is how do we get ready for a fully autonomous public transit system. So each of those has short, medium, and long-term goals and really gives us a clear roadmap to how to get to a smart city.
And you've described the role of innovation and the role of regulation as being a healthy tension, but your role is, as you suggest, to collaborate and convene for the best interests of the people who live in the city.
Right, so government has a few powers. One is our power to say no, and that's sort of the bluntest anvil in our toolbox. And unfortunately, it's been the way that government has often responded to innovation or entrepreneurship in transportation. The second is our role to regulate, which is a lot of times where we say yes and no, but mostly no. And then the last is really our power to convene, to bring people together, to articulate what our goals are, the problems that we have to solve in cities, the very urgent problems that we have around affordability and social equity and safety, resilience and public health and well-being. And then we invite the private sector in to come and help us solve those problems. And in doing so, we have to get comfortable with a level of uncertainty that isn't typical in the public sector, because there is no reward for innovation for an elected official, because failure gets you splashed across the front of the newspaper and has a chilling effect on your willingness to take thoughtful risks. So that's why it's so important for departments of transportation to be very clear about what they want to solve, and then to be very specific about the kind of risks that they're willing to take in order to encourage innovation. We can be sort of future phobic, we can be sort of future allowing, or we can be future guiding. And that's where you have to really exploit that tension between regulation and thoughtful risk taking.